Welcome to the Matt O'Grady Coaching Podcast. This is where Matt shares all his ideas on how to be happier, more successful, and enjoy life to the fullest. Please go to mattogradycoaching.com and thelivinggratitudebook.com to learn more and receive your free micro-coaching session with Matt.
Hola, amigos. I just want to take a moment to thank you all. In case you don't know me, this is Matt O'Grady from elwaybusinesscoach.com. And essentially, for the last 6 months or so, the brand has been in transition, and it hasn't even launched yet. And there's hundreds of you who are consistently downloading this podcast since it's gone through this transition with no promotion, no tweeting, no Facebook, no nothing. And which means you guys have been listening for a long time and been following, and I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it. It's so great to see the downloads every day, see that there's many thousands of downloads that are continuing to happen. My guess is that quite a few of you are repeat listeners because it seems like there's feedback from certain groups and areas and individuals. So thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Here in the next week or two when we launch the new brand, it's going to be exciting to see how many more listeners we start receiving once we start pumping out the information to the world. But thanks for hanging in there, and just obviously you're enjoying it, and that means so much to me. It means the world to me. So today I wanted to talk about miracles because I went for a walk with my son this morning, and we're just out there. He's 3.5, and so he sees. There's so many things that he sees all the time, and that are miracles. It's just the way he views life is a miraculous perspective, and I think that's something that we're often forgetting. We're often missing. There's this opportunity to just look at life as if it's a miracle itself. There's an opportunity to pull back the veil with some really basic concepts, which we'll review in a couple minutes. But I think there's overall a choice that we can make to live a miraculous life, to just stop and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be open to miracles. I'm going to be open to beauty, magic. I allow beauty, magic, and miracles in my life now. It could be as simple as an affirmation like that. And then really start to look for it. And, it can be super, super simple. Something that I learned from Emerson, he talks about how every day it was really important for him to go out and look at the sky, regardless of what the weather was doing, and that the sky fed him. And ever since I read that, not since he said it, because I wasn't around when he said it, but when I read that maybe 15 years ago, or could be longer ago now, maybe 17, 18 years ago, and I've that's part of my practice when I go for my daily walk. When I'm just walking out to the car, or I go outside for any reason, I glance up at the sky just to really look at it, not as like an oversight, like, oh yeah, there's a sky up there, but I'm not going to pay attention to it. And I just really try to breathe it in, just take it in. And today is just a super beautiful day here in New York, 80 degrees and a nice breeze, and it's warm, but it's really just gorgeous. Not a lot of clouds in the sky. The blue was just super vibrant, really pulsating, kind of deep, dark blue sky. And Patrick and I were checking it out. We were looking up at that sky. He's talking to me, look at that sky, Daddy. It's so blue. And just I could hear the awe in his voice. And I had asked him to look. I said, look at that sky, buddy. Doesn't it look so pretty? And just in trying to inspire this connection to nature and its beauty, and that we're living in this miracle. And then we watched a sprinkler for 5 minutes, and we looked at the leaves and the birds and the trees, and just breathing in the fresh air. And I'm telling them about the fresh air. And, you know, we met an old man on the way, a grandpa, as Patrick likes to call him, and we did high fives, and I shook his hand and talked to him for a few minutes. And, you know, there's just really beautiful miracles in some of the simplest ways to live, just by becoming aware of our surroundings, just by being open to what is, being at peace with what is. But that's the segue, so I'll start there. There's no real order to these, but you know, I'm gonna start with what should I start with? Yeah, I'm gonna start with awareness. Yeah, I'll start with awareness because I feel like something that I know to be true in my life is that by starting there, it's kind of like starting with a clean slate or a clean table. You know, when you sit down to do some work at your desk or a table, or you know, if there's a lot of stuff on it, doesn't feel ready, doesn't feel great. Like when I'm going to cook, I'm always telling my wife, like, you know, clean up this area, you know, get this stuff out of here. If you want me to cook, I need a nice, clean spot. Start chopping and preparing the foods. And I don't want a bunch of other stuff around there, whether it's dirty or clean or otherwise. I just don't want clutter. I want a nice, clean space. And that's what awareness brings to us. It creates space around whatever it is that we're experiencing or seeing. You know, even if it's a really intense emotion, if it's a really sad or excruciating moment in life, if we bring awareness to it, even no matter how bad it is, there's something really powerful, really beautiful, really uplifting, really miraculous about bringing our awareness to it rather than being consumed by it. And that goes with joy, too. I mean, even on the other side, I've had some super powerful, really soul-awakening moment when I'm happy, but it's not because of the happiness. It's because of the awareness that was brought in during the happiness. Like, boom, like all of a sudden, like, you know, in a movie and you're watching and all of a sudden they either zoom the camera in or out, and they'll probably add some music that kind of goes with the direction of the camera where you're, it's like this poignant moment. I mean, that's what awareness can do, especially like a really deep, neutral, non-judgmental, just it's just being there. It's just observing. You're just a witness to what's happening. You're awake in your mind and your heart and your body and your soul. You're just seeing things. And you're not so attached to it. You're not so, you're not feeling the weight or the burden, and you're not striving with, you know, wishing something was already here. You may have desires working in the background. You may have focused on something earlier. But when you're really in that awareness space, it's much more neutral. You're just awake in the present moment to what's happening. I mean, right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm aware of the vibrations in my throat and how they filter down into my chest and heart space, across my shoulders, up into my mouth and tongue and lips, and, you know, the moisture in my mouth, and my hands are always moving when I'm talking. You can't see me, but they're always moving, so that kind of and I kind of rock sometimes, and I move my upper body. I'm usually sitting, but not always. A lot of times getting up and moving as the podcast goes on. But I'm aiming at being aware of my body, being aware of my emotions, being aware of my intuition so that it directs me, it takes me down the most divine path. So that's part of what we're talking about. I'm sure anyone who's listened to this podcast long enough knows that I love talking about awareness. It's such a gift and blessing in my life. I'm so grateful for it. So that's where I'm going to go next, because I could just keep going. And gratitude. Gratitude is an amazing gift. And yeah, the book is going to be ready in September, everybody. So please keep your ears out for that information. And the reason I chose gratitude as the first full book that I'm going to write, I've written a lot of ebooks and smaller books and workbooks and things like that, but this is kind of my first quote-unquote real book. And I chose gratitude because it's so simple. We all have it. Awareness is really simple too, but for some reason people are resistant to it sometimes and feel like it's weird or mystical or religious, or just don't want to do it for some reason. And gratitude is kind of more ingrained in us. It's like understanding the word thank you. Like when someone does something for us, we kind of innately know, and we've also been taught societally that it's a good thing to thank someone for. But that's the external aspect. When I talk about gratitude, and feel free to thank people, by the way. I think thanking people is amazing. I love being thanked, and I love saying thank you. It's a wonderful external kind of outer growth of what's happening inside. But we're often not conscious of the inside, right? We say a lot of thank yous, but are you really feeling grateful for every single time you say thank you? I mean, it's just a question. It's not a judgment. I think that it's really important to feel what we say. There's much more power and weight and gravitas to it when we have that. And when it comes from gratitude, regardless of whether we say anything, what's really wonderful is to vibrate this appreciation magic out to the world. And what really happens, and why I chose it as part of the 5 steps to living a miraculous life, is because when we're grateful, when we're appreciating, we're in the vortex, we're in the zone, we're really awake to one of the greatest gifts we've been given, which is being grateful, feeling blessed, feeling appreciation coursing through us. And all that it does is bring more into our lives for us to appreciate. Everything we do and say and think and feel ultimately is a vibration, a frequency that's going out to the world, right? It's a message to the divine. It's a message to the universe, to the source, to God, to the rest of humanity, to the earth, to everything that is. What we feel inside, what we really vibrate and vibrate consistently is the message that we are. We are that message. And in those moments of really deep gratitude, and that's why I started the podcast with that, right? I wanted to thank all of you who listen, because I know what kind of vibration that's sending out to you as you hear it, right? Didn't it feel even a little bit good that, hey, here's this guy, and he's talking about a subject that I enjoy listening to, and he's grateful that I'm listening. I mean, if anything, it's kind of neutral, right? It's almost, I can't even think of a reason why it would be bad when someone's grateful to you. Right? I mean, it's just so pure, divine, beautiful energy to send out to an individual or to a group. In this case, it's a group. It's the hundreds of you, if not thousands of you, who download this podcast on a regular basis. And even if this is your first one that you're listening to, I'm super grateful to you, and I hope you join me many, many, many more times. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think of the podcast. Feel free to reach out to me at loabusinesscoach.com. But as we continue to talk about this, once again, I can do 800 podcasts on gratitude. I'm so in love with the idea that I'm so in love with the practice of it. I'm so enthusiastic about how important it can be in our lives. And I start and end my day with it. And that's one of the best practices I've ever completed. In the morning and being grateful before I go to bed, and then I'm often grateful many dozens, if not hundreds of times throughout the day. And it's just, it really helps to live this miraculous life, because as I am grateful, I get to see the universe brings me more reasons to be grateful.
Be sure to come back for part 2 of this episode. Thank you again for joining us on the Matt O'Grady Coaching Podcast. Until next time, please go to mattogradycoaching.com and thelivingGratitudebook.com to learn more and receive your free micro-coaching session with Matt.